Gribas, Umis, and welcome to the Orc Fort Podcast. I am Xu'rek, and today we have the legendary orc himself, Mr. Omeg the Sheep Lover. Omeg joins us for today's episode. Omeg and I discuss Outlands, OSI days, Ashes of Creations, and so much more about Bloodrock. So, grab your bottle of grog, sharpen that blood axe, and march into the Orc Fort. Catch a seat next to the campfire and enjoy today's episode. All right, Omeg. Omeg the Orc, bro. Omeg the Orc, the legendary Orc. Welcome to the Orc 4 podcast, bud.
Thanks for having me on. I know we talked about it before you even started, and now I'm here, and I'm kind of excited.
Now you're here, man. Yeah, and I'm excited to have you. I think you were on my hit list when this originally was thought about. I was like, I gotta get Omeg on. You're one of the oldest orcs, and a well-known orc, so I had to have you on, bro. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. I like to, even if I'm not in game as much as I used to, I want to keep my name out there. I gotta keep Omeg alive and about.
Yeah, no, you do a good job, man. You do a good job, but I always ask the old timers the same thing, and I'm gonna make you do the same thing. I want to hear. Well, let me ask you this question. When was we all have the story. So what's your story about the first time you heard the words Ultima Online, the first time you saw the CD, and learned about the game? What's that story for you?
Well, the first time I heard Ultima was before Ultima Online. Ultima had a bunch of different floppy disk games for the Apple II. At least that's what I played it on.
The
black
what
and
disc?
green screen.
Floppy disk? What the hell's that, bro?
Yeah. 2.5, 3.5 megabytes, something like that. But yeah, I've played, that game where, it's only keyboard, no mouse, and it was like the pick your own story. It'd have a couple different options every time you go into a new screen. But yeah, that's when I first heard of it. And then I heard of Ultima Online, shoot, I think maybe a year after it came out. I wasn't right there at the very beginning, but yeah, maybe a year after it came out, and heard it from a teacher or from some friends, and then a teacher. And yeah, that was middle school, 6th grade, something like that.
And so your teacher was the one. I mean, okay. So they were playing. Did you play with your real life friends, or were you just on there and like, forget these guys? I met these cooler people on the internet.
So what happened was, I knew of the floppy disk game. Played that when I was even younger than that with my grandfather and stuff. And then my teacher, I heard it from some friends, some couple buddies. They were brothers, and then I mentioned it to my teacher. I can't remember what we were talking about. Mr. Madison, he was a science teacher, and he's like, "Oh, I play that." He goes, "But I can't play it anymore." So he gave me his disc and his like Stratic guide, his manual, and a couple other things.
Damn, he hooked you up, dude.
Yeah, so I didn't even buy buy it originally, but I was given it, and so then I had to convince the parents, "Hey, $10 a month, right? Like for a video
Look all this
game."
gold I made, Mom, in the game. It's so worth it.
Yeah, well, I even had to convince my dad one time because houses were super expensive, to eBay buy me one
Oh
mil
God,
for
you're one of those
$10. Yes, but I got my first house on, I think it was like the Demon Island with the Demon Keep or whatever on it.
What'd you pay? Okay, now we got to know, what was the real estate game like back then? What did you pay for it, if you remember, off eBay from some shady person?
So I bought the gold to buy the house. Like I remember I was short because I never jammed anything until probably 2005, But I think it was like I bought it for a mil for like 10 to 15 bucks.
Not bad, not bad. I mean, that's reasonable. A million was a lot harder. I imagine inflate. Outlands has some gold inflation. Is that fair to say? I mean, a million gold coins on Outlands versus original OSI. It's got to be crazy comparison.
Oh, 100%. Like Outlands, I just dinked off a little bit last night messing around, and I think I made like 25K testing this new template. So over there to get and gold, everything weighed more too. So you couldn't haul 25K out of a dungeon. You can only haul 5 to 10K maybe if you're lucky.
Mm. Yeah. So, oh yeah, because I mean, that's the 50K hauls that people do on here is crazy, dude. You know, like they do 3 or 4 runs and they got like $250,000 gold. It's like, holy fuck, dude.
Well, then you got the super rich who don't even loot the gold anymore.
Yeah, I always laugh whenever because it's funny because as orcs we when we go to a dungeon we try to it's PVM. We're I'm not gonna pretend we're not doing the grind and playing the PVM side, but we try to kick it a little bit in an orcish way. And one of the things we always do, Omega, and you know this, is if we see gold anywhere, we just take it. We orcs can't leave shinies behind, right? That's kind of the general rule of thumb. Eh, eh,
What's funny, exactly so true. Last night, testing the new template, and I'm running around with my blood apes, and all of a sudden, a bunch of gold gets dropped on the ground in like a trail. So I start role playing, picking up gold, shoving in pocket, and it was a backstabber that I'm assuming wanted me to leave his little area. So I was nice, and I went to a different room in Aegis, but yeah, it was kind of funny.
Yeah, we gotta. That's the thing is like for the listeners, our thing is always orcs just hoard gold. So we just got to get it every time. But when we go to these dungeons and they're just leaving gold behind, it's like that's next level PBM. They're only after cores and shit. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, well, it's hilarious because I go down there with my scavenger echo or whatever, and I find a lot of stuff. But late, I have a thing where if someone dies, I will res them, but I follow them around the dungeon until they give me gold, and I demand tribute because they can't stay alive without orc help. And some people get really irritated, but it's kind of fun. I get my gold.
Well, let me take you a little bit back here. So you get the game. When is Omeg born? Where did you get the name from? Give us the story, man, because and it isn't originally Omeg. Omeg's the shortened version. I've seen the ancient scrolls, bro. I know that's not your real name.
Yeah, so man, so I think I played so when I first started playing, of course everybody was on 28K, 56K, and we growing up like I couldn't be on all the time, of course. Some of the kids were able to play more, but once we got a second phone line, we started playing more. So I think that was like a year after I started playing, so maybe 2000, 2001-ish, and I would mine. I That's with my connection, that's all I really could do. So short story is I was mining near the Bloodrock work fort. I'd had no idea what the heck it was, but I would constantly get PK'd, and I was like, man, I don't know what these, they would run up and just, kill me, and I couldn't understand what was going on. Finally, I think I opened someone's paper doll, and they had a web address in there. And so then I went to the web address, saw that they did it. There was no name generators. So I think I partied one of them, and I have no idea who Dagak maybe it was. I was close to her, but partied, and they told me to go find a name. So the orcs used to have NPC names as they went around,
Yeah, I
and
missed
there was
that,
a
dude. I missed the NPC names. They're so good.
100%. Yeah, the NPC names were so cool. Like there was like, oh, I never would have thought of doing something like that. But there was one, it was like OMUGTHUU or something. And so I wanted to change it up so they're like, oh, I didn't steal exactly the exact name. So I changed it up to Omegutho. Omegtho.
Which kind
Yep.
of sounds a little like Japanese, like if you said it
Oh,
out.
I never even thought about that.
Yeah, it kind of sounds. I'm sure someone's like shaking their head. Me just saying comparing that, but yeah, it kind of does. But it's a cool, unique name, and that's what those NPC names gave us, right? They were just like Splurglug, and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool, just random
Oh,
shit.
yeah. Yeah, I loved it. And then I like the creativity of some of the names, and, some of our names are questionable, to say the least. That's why we have to get name
Yeah,
approval these days. But
yeah, I love. And for the listener, if you make an orc, a solidified member, either myself or the second in command, or the war chief, or an elder, or a captain, has to sign off on your name. And one of the things we look for, I guess this would be a funny thing to talk about, Omega, or the names, right? Just since we're on the topic, like we get, I mean, I think the worst ones are the ones where they just straight up rip, like they come in and they want Thrall, or just straight up rip like another
Oh
a
man,
Warcraft.
some of those ones like, and then they do. I don't even know what the. I'm horrible with the linguistics part of it, but like where it looks like a name and it sounds like a name, but it isn't. It's spelt differently.
Yeah, a
Man, we
lot.
get
Like
some of those.
I think we got. I think I saw Tupac one time, like there, but it was like TUP, OK or something like that, like apostrophe OK. We get like some are funny, We even let my favorite of all time was Garbage that we let pass, who was just like it was just garbage, but we just butchered it. I don't know how he made it through, but he made it through. Um,
That was actually a really good one.
yeah,
And so we started tracking who approves them. Well, Discord, you can look back. And apparently, I say I don't like them, but apparently, I approve of a lot of these. So
damn it,
you
Omega, it's your
know,
fault.
oh, it is. I think Lubak has Bungle, but it
Yeah,
looks
it's like
nice.
bunghole, like Beavis and Butthead. But I saw it one time and I was like, "What? Who approved this shit?" And sure enough, Omegatu.
I think it was myself that approved.
well, well, you get your name, they approve you, you become a peon or whatever, right? And is this Bloodrock, or are you in Shadow Clan? Like what?
Yeah. So I started on Great Lakes. I started on Great Lakes just because my IRL friends that were brothers, they were on Great Lakes and they PvP'd and stuff like that. So I started on Great Lakes, and yeah, I did run into the Bloodrock clan, and yeah, it was. I started as a peon, and I was on. Once we got that second phone line, I was on quite a bit, and so it was. I started becoming known, but not known for being good.
You were known for being not good.
Meaning, I wasn't good at the game. I couldn't PvP. Like
right.
I didn't know how to roleplay. I'd never done that before. But eventually, I started getting the hang of things. I still couldn't PvP, so I just came up with stories. Like my most famous story I had was that Nero even brings up was I used to be a miner, smithy or blacksmith, but I only got to like 75 because that's when you can make exceptional ring mill. So I didn't need to go any higher. We had no need to go any higher.
Right.
So I would get to 75 like blacksmith, yeah, miner, and a macer. But I role played that I got my eyes were burned from smithing, making stuff. And because I was so slow in PvP with no mounts, I would run the other directions. I would start attacking other orcs and thinking they were the enemy and stuff like that. So it was kind of funny.
And that kind of speaks to the core of why I think you're so well known in our community, bro. Is this willingness, and you do it even now. You're Omeg now. For the listener, Omeg now is an elder, but he's a fencer, right? He's a poisoner currently. That's his build.
Yeah, so coming to Outlands, I was like, hey, what's the best like at that time, what was the best PvP template? I wanted to fight. So it was the lethal poisoner. Now they're kind of nerfed because you get free cures and
Yeah, that's
cure pots.
bullshit.
You can hold like 75 cure pots, 100 cure pots now. So, and I role played that Omeg being older now. He had to figure out a way to not have to chase as much because I role play. I have a bunch of hotkeys saying, "Hey, slow down. I'm too fat and old. My bones hurt." As I'm chasing the people. So I envision Omeg now as like a slow Komodo. Granted, they're not slow, but like a Komodo dragon. You bite them and let the poison hit them and watch them fall, and then you go up to the body.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, and he's sort of like in his age, your character, from the events we've had and from the chances I've had to play with you, he's sort of kind of nonchalant about things a little bit. Like he's that old veteran that's just seen it all, kind of been through it all. So there's nothing new under the sun for him anymore, it seems, you know. So like if something happens or we got, you know, wiped by whatever, or they flanked us or something, you just like rolls eyes, shrugs, like, I don't know, you know, just keeps walking, keeps going.
I think that's more of my IRL self coming out these in character than anything.
So okay,
Yes.
so let me ask you this, and I'm curious to every orc because I think we all have a different sort of explanation for it. But what drew you in about these guys? I mean, if you poll the people who've come across them, a lot of people might be interested in what they did or found it cool. Not so many want to be one of them. You know what I mean? What do you think about yourself? And I guess this is more of a personal question. What about yourself do you think sort of said, hey, I want to, now I've never roleplayed before, right? You never roleplayed before. You see these people speaking a random new language. What makes you say, I want to be one of these guys?
Man, what brought me in, I think, was they all were focused on like one thing. Like, hey, we need to get supplies. We need to do this. It was structured. It wasn't, just everybody for themselves. Granted, we do play that everybody's for themselves. We'll leave people behind. We don't care. But internally, we help each other out. Like, hey, I need to do this. We always help each other out, and it just drug me into it. And then the language, I thought that was cool, and especially when you're 10, 11, whatever. I'm like, oh, I speak a second language. It's
Yeah.
black speech, and I felt like ooh, I'm mischievous. Like, ooh, there's three gods. I worship three gods of blood, and at
Yeah.
that age, I think that's what drew me in because I felt like, ooh,
Like you were a part of something unique, you know, maybe something kind of established that was pretty cool. I kind of felt the same way, and for me, I've always said I think one thing that when you look at the orcs that have made it through and kind of long term members, one common trait that we have is we seem to have this fascination with a groupthink. We seem to have this fascination with, you know, with this ability anyway of us to be able to step back and say we're not the main characters here, you know, and in doing so, the clan becomes the main character. You know what I'm saying? And we're just a cogwheel in the machine that is Bloodrock. And there's something really cool about that because without, I think that's the sort of mentality that's let us exist for 26 years. You know, because the orcs, the elders like yourself, like Nerul, you don't just say this is my clan. You know, it's just you're a cog in the machine that is the clan.
oh yeah, because it's like I've heard you say before, we're kind of like a living NPC. Maybe we're like first generation AI NPCs that have been
Yeah,
around
dude.
since '99, and
We're
it's
original AI, dude. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And because we're not smart, we kind of just stay together. We bounce off of walls. We get stuck on trees and die. Like,
Yeah.
and it's, and we're playing the game to have fun. We don't, not many of us min-max. Every once in a while I'll try. But these days, most of us just kind of stay the same template even, like until it becomes good again. Like I'm still a lethal poisoner. One day it'll be good again, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep dreaming, bud. Keep dreaming.
I know.
Yeah. Even like so for Xu'rek, he's a beastmaster now, and you know when taming kind of went to shit, I was like, and I was like, you know what? I don't give a shit. You know, I care more about my character's lore than I do about anything in game. So as long as I can fling an arrow and it does some damage, as long as these wolfhounds can hit for at least one damage or something, or at least look menacing, then I'm good. You know, I don't care, man. It doesn't matter to me. So, you know, I PvP as when we do like RP PvP battles. I don't even care. I stay as my tamer. You know, I don't even care anymore. It's just I role play as that.
Yeah, and that's the funnest part is like, so I'm trying. I've always loved my blood apes. Anytime someone starts talking about anything, I was like, "Hey, blood apes are so much fun."
I know you
Well,
try to sell me on them. You're like, hey, you want to try this blood? It's like the first hit. You know, you're like, we're in the fort. I'm giving the listener the story now. I know Meg's like, hey, Xu'rek, you ever tried blood apes? And I'm like, no, I've never tried them, bro. He's like, well, here, I got you the first one for free. You know, just trade window comes up. And I'm like, bro, this is like trying to get me to take their first sip all over again.
Oh, dude. Well, now I have like, most of mine are damaged, 10% or 9.8%, over the years I've collected them, but I roll with them and they just start punching and they sound hilarious and the screams that they do and there's blood everywhere they walk. And well, what's funny is when I first got the template, I was like, hey, I just want a basic tamer. You don't have to have GM taming or 120 or anything. But I just had a basic template, and these people with like min-max templates weren't doing as much damage as I was. This is probably a year, 2 years ago now. Now they're not as good, but they were uh, they were doing more damage than a min-max template, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, because they have that ability, right? With like the blood puddles or some shit. Ain't that one of their
Yeah,
things?
yeah. So the more blood there's on the ground, they get stronger and they frenzy and stuff like that. It's really cool, but they're not as good as they once were.
Yeah, yeah, that's unfortunate, but that is the way, man. And like you said, I think that's the key. You just stick with something, whatever's cool for you, and whatever makes your character, I think, stand out and be unique, and you run with it, and the truth is, you're not that far off from the mid. Like the difference between, they might say a min max build kills a mob in 10 seconds, you're killing them in 13. So we after 1,000, that means they're doing 30 more. It's like, bro, who gives a shit?
Oh, dude, 100% on that. And I was trying out swords instead of archery again, and being next to them, and the sounds that were coming from it when I was testing it last night were hilarious because it's just rapid fire, bam, 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 and I like it. So I might. It kills a lot slower than my other Echo, but I might stay with it for a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, man, and something that sort of sticks with you kind of long term is this idea that we're doing something that's beyond the game even, and that's kind of a weird way to look at it. Like I always say, Bloodrock is beyond UO. I mean, we have our own website. It's a concept that we've developed. We have lore, we have history, man. I mean, how many events do we have under our belts, Omega, at this point, where we've solidified and made our own sort of our own IP even, and it's kind of cool to see that it's lasted this long, bro. And you've been there kind of almost from the beginning, right?
Yeah. So it was like 2000, 2001. I'm sure Grizz could pinpoint the minute I, created Omeg, but or Omegetho now Omeg, but yeah, so many years on our belt. There's only a few years here and there that that I didn't play, but we've played many different shards. We've never stayed on a shard besides Great Lakes for 5, 6 years that we've been on 5 years on Outlands. So
This is like our, I think it's our home for the foreseeable future, man. It's such a great, it gives the player everything they want. You know what I mean? Like everything you want is here. That's a double edged sword, though, right? Because when you have that, man, I think it becomes troublesome a little bit for the roleplay community, and I've kind of expressed that before, but I'm curious what you think. My stance, Omeg, is that in OSI there was no true end game, so as a result, we made our own end game through RP, right?
oh
and
yeah.
and and we created our own sort of our own way to play the game that extended from the basic version that really wasn't very fulfilling. Now on Outlands, we're competing with a whole lot of end game, bro. Time dungeon, links, aspects, boating, factioning. There's a lot of things to do. But when you have this variety, it's then it's us in the corner saying, "Have you tried RP?" It's a it's and we're like, you could do all that stuff while RP, but the truth is that it's a competition of resources.
Oh yeah. And I like Outlands. Like I've tried dabbling in other games. Like there's a new game coming out, Ashes of Creation. I took the Omeg. They have orc races over there, unfortunately, but so I'll be an orc race, and um, it's it's different. How I think it Ultima in general makes us thrive. I don't. I think it's the other games like this new game. I hope we do. I'm the first doing the alpha testing and stuff, but
Oh, you're
yeah,
you're alpha
being
testing that?
yeah, I bought the alpha testing key. What, 4 months ago, 5 months ago, something like that.
Oh, nice. Was
But
it
yeah,
any good or what?
it is. It's an alpha, so there's lots of bugs and everything. And I'll send you a picture. I have Omeg. He's in like a like ratted, tatted like clothing. He has his orc face, and then he's riding like a skinwalker, which is like a wolf, like a dead wolf. So it has like holes through him and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. But
Okay.
again,
Yeah, send me that.
it
I'm gonna post production show the viewers that image here on YouTube. So
yeah, it's a fun game, and we've tried to transcend games before. I've taken the Bloodrock name, of course. I've asked Nerul to do it and stuff, but taken the Bloodrock name, used it in different games. My thing was I was hoping I would. This was before Outlands get recognized from OSI days or even other shard days and try to drag them back to Outlands or or try to get them into Bloodrock or just get recognized. So I've tried to keep the same name now
yeah,
for a while.
yeah, and it works, man. Because I'll have instances where people would message me like, "Is that the same old Meg from from whatever?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's the same old bastard, man. Still kicking."
Holy cow. Yeah, I actually discussing plans with my brother today. And, oh, hey, I gotta, being interviewed for the podcast. He's like, let me guess about Ultima again. He's like, you're still playing that? I was like, yes.
Yeah, dude, it's still kicking. But you know what's crazy is like I think I always say this, and sound like a broken record, but I always see this as a second opportunity at some. And obviously, we're much older, so our our the way we view the world has changed from being 12, 13-year old shitheads, right? But we kind of have a chance to do it the way we wish, and so I do always kind of push that, and I say we can everything we've done before, we can keep it. We know what was fun for us. We know what kept us coming back, and that's what we're doing here, and someone like you can kind of attest to that because you've seen it all, man.
Yeah, and I've been nearly every rank now from Snotling, just even as Omeg. I've been Snotling, when we got over here. Peon was the lowest rank. I was a peon trainer. That's a whole nother story. And then I was a grunt for the longest time. And then I became chieftain, but I was only chieftain for maybe one or two orcs. And that was like 2005, 2004 on Great Lakes.
And wait, you said you were a peon trainer? That was a rank back then? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I've been trying to figure out a way to establish it into Outlands, and now might be a good time just because we don't have many snotlings. So it would basically be a snotling trainer now. So to get back on OSI days, Great Lakes, excuse me, we would have a list of questions. So Dagak, Dagak, she used to be one, and then I took over. So you would have a bunch of questions, and you'd go into the grunt log cabin next to the fort, and you would have to pass a test. I had it written down, before when I had to take the test to pass to grunt. But you would have to answer like, what are the ranks? What are the three gods? What are they the gods of? Count to 10. You would have to say who's the biggest enemy of Bloodrock, and I think at that time was Black Company, who was just next door. So it was an easy question.
Yeah.
We would try to trick them, like, what mounts are you able to ride, and what would you do in this situation? So you would have to pass a test just to become a grunt.
Dude, I love it, man. I love it because it ensures it's like the it's like the GED test, right? It's like you got to have a, a baseline if you're gonna
Hmm.
call yourself a grunt. We got to know the basics,
Yeah, and it's just like name what weapon you use, because back then we only had maybe one or two orcs. You only had one account with 5 characters. With Outlands, you have 3 accounts and 15 characters, possible of 18 if you buy the extra character slots.
Yeah, that's
So there
crazy.
is orcs on the stone that I play that no one knows it's me. So that's another thing.
Yeah, but my favorite of yours, I'm gonna say this right. My favorite alt of yours, and I know it's you. I'm sorry if you're not. People weren't supposed to know that, but is Heidberg or Heidenberg, whatever the dog orc.
Hitter,
He's the best, dude.
yeah, hitter,
Hitter, yeah. And for the
yeah.
listener, This is what I love about what we do is like I think a lot of the times people think, oh, orcs are restrictive, and we are. We're the most restrictive guild on the server, but I think that adds value. But beyond that, we're restrictive in the in-game sense when it comes to mechanics, with magery is shunned upon, you can't use certain weapons, etc. But we never restrict the RP really, and you can spin it however you want. And I think the best example of that is Omeg's alt Hitterg or whatever. Um, and Hitterg is awesome because basically, so what's the background there? Did he get hit in the head too hard, or what? Did he get mauled by a dog as a newborn, or what happened there?
Man, so that character's developed. He's been so many different templates. He's never stayed with one template at all. He's probably my second oldest orc. So the orcs people know me from is obviously Omeg or Omegatho. Blog is my Guka, and then I have Tagu, which is my PVM, and then Hitterg was my other. Those were pretty much my orc names I've kept through all these years, 20 something years. Hidorg, his backstory was like he was raised with wolves. Like he was so scrawny and so like they left him out to die. Well, he was raised by wolves, so he only knows a couple words, but and he's a tracker over here, which is kind of cool. So when I pick up someone on tracking, I spam sniffs, and then it lifts legs and points like a hunting dog. It's kind of fun.
It's so hilarious. It makes the game so fun, man. Like if we're on a patrol, so this is your red, right? He's red.
Oh yeah, he's red
Yeah.
faction. He's yeah.
And so when we're running around the roads in Avedon, and he picks something up just to see it, I laugh every time, dude. The emotes get me. And then we roll up on this human, and here's this orc that can't speak. So we're at least speaking orcish. So I mean, the guy can kind of semi make out what we're saying, when we're demanding tribute or whatever. But your guys just bark, 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 right in his face, just bark,
Growls,
bark,
barks,
bark. Oh
growls,
my
runs
god,
around.
dude!
Oh yeah, and then I slowly over to the time I've created more and more emotes and stuff. Well, the bottom of my screen is filled with so many. I have to constantly look down to remember what hotkey, where
Yeah.
which emote. Because I have like when I kill someone, rips off arm, chews on arm, pees on body, and the rips off like it starts to chew on body. I use the dagger and cut up the body so all the pieces are get dropped on the ground, and
Oh,
it's
dude,
fun.
I think emotes are a secret weapon, and not just for us. Any role player. When I say we, I mean role players, because they really. That's kind of the beauty. And when you talked about Ashes of Creation, and you talked about transferring what we do here to other games, I think the beauty and the secret weapon of Ultima is the imaginative part, right? And you played old Ultima games. I think a lot of the old timers, a lot of the role players are old timers because they've sort of had to create a lot of these things in their minds, and that's the kind of the coolest part. And the sandbox that is Ultima gives you enough tools to try to do some of the stuff, but it rarely gives you all the tools. So you have to be creative, and I think there's value in that, right? Because at the end of the day, there is some sense of pride that you take when you say, "Hey, we created this whole concept with just fucking quarter staves." We build forts with boxes and staves and stuff, right? And pretend like it's wood.
Yeah, that's and so see that's what Ashes of Creation in almost 99% of the games I've tried is lacking. You can't drop stuff on the ground to make it appear. You can't create the look you're going for. Like there's a story. So Alpha Ashes is in alpha testing, right? So there's roleplay guilds on there, but they're not role playing. They're just trying to test the systems and, see how they want to play the game when it comes out in a year, however long it takes. Well, there's a caravan system, which, as orcs, I got really excited because it is somewhat of a lawless zone once you're out of the towns and you can attack them and loot their caravans and drag it back to what you want to do. So we were running a caravan and I was role playing as Omeg, full blown role play still, and a caravan was passing over this bridge, and so I said stop, and there's chat bubbles, and I was like stop, and the good dude was like WTF, and I was like goodbye shinies, and I started demanding tribute to let them pass. Well, I was in voice comms with this random RP guild I joined, and they're like, what are you doing? And they're like, you're gonna get them to attack us. Like they had probably 30, 40 people guarding this caravan, and there was like five of us. And they're like, stop. And I was like, stop, give me tribute. You must give. And they were panicking, and I was giggly because that's what we do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're looking kind of. That's a good death, right? 30 people. That's a good death.
Yeah, I knew it was a losing situation. Like, and it's semi full loot over there, which kind of sucks. Like, you lose a percentage. Like, so if you're red, lose like 75% or something. They may have changed it since I last played, of your inventory. If you're if you're the attacker, you lose like 50% and you die. But if you're like a blue, you only lose like 25% of your inventory. So say you have 10 iron and 10 logs, 10% of that or 25% of that you lose. So it's not full loot, but kinda. So they
Oh,
were
so
panicking.
yeah,
I
okay.
wasn't panicking. I was, let's go. I have nothing to lose. I have the basic of stuff. I don't care.
But I've always, but like, see, a game like Ashes of Creation, and I'm saying this, I'm pulling out of my ass. I don't know. I've never played it, so you can correct me or whatever. But I feel like games like that, they say, "Oh, roleplay community, you guys want to roleplay orcs? Here, we'll give you everything you need. Here's the orc race. Here's the orc weapons. Here's the orc housing. Here's the, you don't even have to worry about that. We'll do all that for you." And it's sort of stupid because not on their part that's logical. It's kind of stupid for us because we're like, we don't actually want to be give. We want to make it right.
Exactly, because it gives us more immersion. It gives us something we want to strive for. And I used to be on the side, I wanted all that, right? Even till recently, I think I've wanted, no, give us an orc house, give us this. But Nerol over the years, he's always stuck by this point. No, we make the orc. We we make who we are happen in game. We don't need someone to create that for us. And then humans. He hates it that humans can do it, right? Because humans can act like an orc in Outlands for about 5 seconds. They get bored. They'll run around with orc helms and say zug zug, and we just kill them. But, you know, we create the atmosphere.
Yeah, and it's a fine. And so that's the thing is that we have sort of a standard that we've upheld that exists beyond kind of anything that Ultima can give us. They gave us a mask, but bro, we'd be orcs without the mask, right? They give us we'd be orcs no matter what. So they do provide us with the resources, obviously, to do the basics where we're able to select. But I enjoy, for example, and this is coming from someone who used fencing, but when the weapons dropped, when was it Wildlands dropped and they added all these weapons, was it the Wildlands that
Uh,
did that?
yeah, it was Wildlands, and they basically the new graphics for the weapons and stuff, and it gave us, yeah, and
It gave us some
there's a
stuff, but
couple
if you remember,
specific ones.
a lot of the fencing weapons were like really, I enjoyed that we sat down as the leadership in the clan and we went over the list of the new weapons and we x'd out the ones that were too human for us and we allowed the others that were perfect. And I enjoy that part, even if it means I get less options. We're able to uphold a standard that still keeps that visualization and kind of keeps that consistency in the way we play the game. So, I'm all for it, man. Give out. Yeah, Outlands needs to give out whatever. We'll do our part. They don't need to worry about much. We're gonna do what we need to do to make sure that our look stays consistent. Even if it means we adopt none of the new weapons.
Yeah, see, I'm kind of glad I'm an elder now because sometimes when I get off and we're debating on, hey, this is what we're gonna be working on, I'm like, I'll let the other leadership decide what we do
Yeah.
because Outlands provides so much content and so much new things to keep. Like, we have a specific channel just for, the clothing. I'm glad I'm an elder now because I couldn't keep up with all this.
Yeah, it's a ton, man. It's a ton, but it's worth it because I think and we've developed. I think we've used to back in the days. If you look at old screenshots, all the orcs are like copy paste, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was very specific, exact to a T what to do. And what's funny is Pone Star has like a channel for like the best strip or something like that. and I posted the orc. I don't even think it was Omeg, so I wasn't even colored armor. It was just basic iron ring mail with the boots, and that's it. I think holding a torch, and they're like, "Yeah, that's the true drip right there."
But there is some, getting a little probably deep here, but there is something to that, Omega. And when you look at the old photos, for the listener, when I say old photos, I'm talking 99, 2000, 2001 heyday, creation, first few years of our existence. There was no all this blessed attire. The attire was orc helmet, ring mail, red boots, right? Maybe the
Oh
weapons
yeah.
made you a little distinct, right? If you had a shield versus a bow or something like that, so that made you distinct. But it forced the orc. If you wanted to stand out, if you wanted to be known as a scout, if you wanted to be known as something, it forced you to create a sort of lore and background to your orc that made him or her stand out, right? It you were different not by what you wore, but by how you played the game and the character that you developed in the game. And there's something to that, man. There's something to that, and I think whenever you look like a scout, you don't have to be a scout, right? You just have to look like one. And I don't know if that's as good, Omega. I don't know.
No, I love it how we do have distinct, especially like and Kakur, like the mages, the shamans, they look different. Even Izugag, I stepped down from being a shaman because I didn't play that character, but that part, taking it, Outlands being letting us go a little bit more distinctive, I like that. But the copy paste orcs, that's a perfect analogy because that's what we look at old pictures, we can't tell who's who.
Right.
And but the only way you can tell is like, okay, I used the Warhammer and I was always standing in back. So you're like, there's a 50% chance that's me in that picture.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that's kind of actually hilarious, and I kind of actually love that because it relays back to the point we made earlier. The goal here wasn't you; it was the clan, right? So you the role you played
Yeah.
within it. So it's kind of fitting that you have old photos where you're one of them probably, but you don't know which one. You just know you were there for these types of events, you know?
Yeah, and still to this day, it's just the clan focusing as a whole instead of being individual is, I think, what still keeps us around. We're not, a stinky human where, it's me, me, me. Well, granted, sometimes Omeg says it's me, me, me in game, but still.
Yeah, the humans, man. I always love. I just had an interaction yesterday with a guy, and I knew he was new because he straight up tried to run into our house or to our stronghold. So like that's a newbie 101 move, right? Just thinking you can run in like and not get
Oh.
auto banned by a ban bot in a big house like that. So he tried. He got auto banned, so he got kicked back outside. And then he runs past the bridge just nonchalantly, and I'm like, this guy's so new. So I go confront him, and I'm like, give tribute. He's like, dude, what the fuck? Just clearly like he'd never seen an orc before, you know. And so then my on switch clicks, and you know what I'm talking about, Omega, right? When now you realize you got to put on a little bit of a performance because
Oh, yes.
yeah, I think that's what we live for. And so this was like I hadn't had one for a while, like a real new one that didn't attack me automatically or run automatically. This guy was like, "What are you doing?" You know. And so I start pacing back and forth, chugging grog, wiping my mouth with my arm afterwards. And he's like, "Yeah, I know it's hitting him. Like this dude is fucking pretending to be an orc here. You know what the fuck?"
Yeah, we have to, when you run into those, because usually I run into them because we're almost all my characters are PKs, but usually I only run into them when they're mining or lumberjacking around our area. And when I ask for tribute and they take off running, I'll try to attack them and chase them down. But if they ever stop, I don't keep attacking them. I take the performative level to the next. Like I try to go way over the top.
Yeah,
Like, oh, knocks dirt out of his boots, growls at him, has to, deep breaths, and I try to make it way over the top because obviously they probably haven't seen us before, and this is what attracted me to the Bloodrock. So
correct.
if I can get them into the RP community by doing something like that, or make their time more enjoyable, like we see people PKs will res kill newbies. Like if we see them with a heater shield that just says a heater shield, we try to make it different. Like we'll probably still kill them, but we try to like, okay, maybe I'll res them, I'll throw them, I'll go into the snotling shelf, I'll grab a full set of the plate mill or whatever we've looted, and I'll go give it to them. If I know they only don't even have GM equipment, I have ostards that are coming out of my ears. I'll give them an ostard if I see them running outside of our fort with no mount.
Yeah.
So I try to make it more memorable. We're all probably in our 30s, 40s playing this game. Like we don't we
Cut.
don't, need to make someone have a really bad time.
Yeah.
Like when people res kill.
There's no joy in it, man. And I kind of envied him for a moment, Omeg, because I remember the moment I ran into role players for the first time, and then maybe he's just like, oh, these fucking nerds, right? He could be just that, or there's a chance, a small chance, but a chance that he says, hey, that's kind of interesting. And I envy the fact that he was just exploring a world. He came across the fort, didn't even know what the hell this is. He's traveling on the road. He comes into this thing that looks like a fort, an orc fort, and yeah, it kind of gives that vibe. And then he runs into someone pretending to be an orc, and that to me is just that's why this game to me is special, because
Oh,
these
yeah,
adventures
it's
can still be
huge.
had.
Yeah, it's huge. And especially a game this old. We're not getting players that are just like finding it on Steam. There's these players that are typing in, full loot or whatever, however they find the game these days. And we want to keep them around. We don't want to, I think we lose more than we gain in population wise. So it's just like, let's keep the people around. We don't need to be the douches or something like that, even though we role play douches, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, we roleplay douches. That's true. But I think the main thing is what you said. We have this duty to sort of keep this thing going, and the way we do it is to put on that performance. And so emotes is the way to do it. You've inspired me. I need more emotes, man. I'm limited in my emote game, but I need some better ones.
Oh man, it's the hotkey emotes I got to get better at, and the emoting, just like examining the gems. Like that was Nero's big one. Like when humans would give us gems, he would emote looking over the gems. I don't know how fast Nero can type. Incredibly fast when he's running. He's a master of it, but I have the emotes for it now. Like I said, looking over the gems, shoving gems in pouch, knocking the boot, the dirt off your on the Oster, hopefully wolves soon. But it makes the world bigger. Me and the kids during COVID, or even up to last year, we played a game, Ark or Atlas, and we were played different characters and stuff. But I always brought the orcs, like the atmosphere of the orcs. Maybe I was a dragon or something, but I always tried to bring the orc, the vibe that, as the kids say, the vibe to
The
the other
vibe
games.
check, yeah, the orc vibe check, bro. I did it for I did it for my brother played Rust, and he was like begging me to get on it. I'm like, I'm only doing it as an orc, and he's like, you're stupid. But I did it, and in that game, in your house, you can spray paint a sign, like a wooden sign. So I put a big ass wooden sign that said orc fort, and we got raided and killed like within an hour. But I was like, I'm fucking doing it.
Oh yeah, and like I said, I'm trying to do that with Ashes. I guess Atlas, it's like a ship type game with dinosaurs and stuff. They just started a new RP server, so I don't have the time. It's a very grindy game, similar to Outlands, but I'm not established over there. But I think that me and the kids, we were actually talking about it last night. Maybe we'll just go over there and we act like savages. So we have the crappiest little boat, a spear, and we just start yelling at people, and we try to take over ships that are 100 times our size, and just make it fun.
Yeah, no, it's there's value in being that service, and you know what, you do a greater good because those guys are gonna just laugh when they see that shit. They're gonna just
Oh
be
yeah,
rolling, dude. But
yeah. We joined a guild like that because we were on a rowboat, or I think we were on a rowboat, and they were in a full like five-mast ship, and they were pirates, so they came to us, and we're like, give us whatever you have. And we're like, no, you give us. They're like, wait, what? And we started like me and my son started challenging them, but they're like, we like them. They're fun.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly, dude.
no.
That's hilarious. And actually, it kind of works sometimes, right? It's like when the humans that I always love when it's like five reds, and of course, this 10% or less happens this way, but five or six reds run into a dungeon I'm at farming or something, and they just give me tribute. You know, it's like they could easily
Hmm.
smoke me. You know, what I mean? I have zero resist, bro, zero parry, but they just like give me gold and just bow. You know, just and I'm like, and now of
Oh
course
yeah.
I give them the performance they're looking for. You know, and it's kind of the
Yep.
our exchange.
Yeah, it's I even have shoot, I took your logo and made it the Orc Fort podcast and had it on the back of my shirt in Vegas. Like I'm trying to like it's such a atmosphere vibe. I keep repeating it, but I love it. We're it's we want more people to keep playing.
Yeah, yeah, and that's true. That's true. And so let me ask you this: what's the future for Omeg, man? Are you staying on Outlands? Or you talk about Ashes of Creation? Are you jumping ship? What's going on?
Oh, never jumping ship. There's
Well,
no
I mean,
shot I'm
jumping
jumping
ship from
ship off.
Outlands. I mean, not Bloodrock, of course.
No, I'll always stay at Outlands. Shoot, I'm changing my template up and stuff like that, as last night while I was macroing last night when I was out with the family and Ashes, I'm dabbling in that and it's still a year plus away. So, and like I said, it doesn't have the same, sandbox feel that Outlands has. So I'll always come back. Plus I got my fortress now. I gotta stay around.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Well, I think there's a potential, and I'm curious to see. And maybe Ashes is the closest chance we get to it, to replicating what we do here. So I'm kind of interested to learn more about it for sure. Again, I think you give us the tools to succeed, and I think we can do it. As long as we have the space and availability, I think we can take Bloodrock anywhere, dude. We're like the what in Warhammer 40K, the orcs that just they take over a comet or something and ride that bitch anywhere till it crashes on a planet. Like that's us. We
Oh
can
yeah.
that comet is the clan we've created in the lore, and we can crash it on any planet. I think if we really wanted to. So, yeah, I'm in agreement with you there.
Yeah, it's I've even, I've tried to take this what I've learned, controlling back when I was more of a day-to-day leader instead of being sitting in the back. I've tried to take that and take it to other games. I've tried to like teach the ways of Bloodrock, and I think we could go anywhere with it.
Let me ask you this. This is an orc question, and now I kind of wish I would have asked some of the other orcs. Moving forward, I'll ask them this. Who's your favorite orc figure of all time? Not UO. I mean, it can be UO, I guess, but I mean Warhammer, Lord of the Rings, and I think we've all seen movies or shows where we're like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." Who's your favorite orc of all time?
Favorite work of all time. So I never played any of the WoW. Lord of the Rings is like the closest like orc I think that gets to us. What is it? I think it was the Hobbit movies
Mm-hmm.
that had more orcs than anything. Like out of all the movies, I think it had the most orcs. And I really liked the Wolf Riders when I think it was that movie. Maybe it wasn't
I
the
don't know if
original
that
one.
was I think that might have been the first Lord of the Ring, the Twin Towers or not the Two Towers or whatever. I don't know, man. I'm not a whiz on it, but I remember the
Yeah.
scene because it's like a mountainous sort of like
Yeah, and they're chasing down Legolas and the other guy.
yeah,
And
that's epic. So those Wolf Riders are kind of like it for you.
yeah, that spells like when we're running, chasing down humans, like the Omeg, how they poison and then slowly tracking them down. I don't know what it is with that part, but I loved that orc.
You know what I love the most about that scene, probably more than the orcs personally, was that the wolf. I love that the wolves were fighting too. Right? They weren't very
Oh
effective,
yeah.
obviously, because they're the bad
No.
guys. They're kind of dog shit. But I'm like, that's kind of like Outlands. That's like my wolves in Outlands. They do no damage, in
Hmm.
PvP.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it, and like I think the new Amazon series had orcs that were that were like a married couple and had a kid. I was like, oh no. It's
Oh
like,
yeah, dude. My wife watches that stuff. I've never seen that, but I heard that they're like emo orcs or some shit. I'm like, not interested.
yeah, they were questioning, one of the scenes I remember, they're like in the woods and one of the orcs like, we need to go here. The dude's like, but why? I want to stay here. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, I kind of want to watch it just to cringe. Like those cringe YouTube compilations. I need to watch it because
hmm
that concept to
There,
me is cringy.
there is a ton of orcs in the new series. It's a slower series. Don't watch it when you're tired, but it there's a lot more orcs in it, but it's different.
Yeah, I almost and my wife said it. She's like, "You should watch it." They talk about the orcs and their history. I'm like, I kind of don't want to know. I think half the fun is like what I love the little bit of digging I did is like I love the fact that no one really knew where they came from. How there's like competing theories that where even in the Lord of the Rings universe, like where the origins of the orcs is kind of unknown. I love that, because it's like it is what you want it to be, baby. You pick it, you make it what you want, and I think we sort of replicate that with us. In our orcs, it's like your character can be whatever it could be a baby orc abandoned in the woods, raised by wolves. You know what I mean? It could be that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's back to the Ultima floppy disk days where it's like choose your own story. You get to choose your own story and develop it exactly how you want to.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's really the key here. Everything else is just the vehicle in which we're able to grow these characters, and those characters together are Bloodrock, and we got some epic characters in the clan. Which I just think it's freaking awesome, man.
Yeah, I've been playing my Snotling. I just usually leave them on, and if I'm like eating dinner, watching YouTube, or just sitting at my desk, I'll have my Snotling with his level or tame requirement 55 pets or whatever I have, just sitting there with a shepherd crook and a naked.
Oh, that's
And
you. That's you blocking the door. No, I'm just kidding.
but I leave him logged on, and I like role playing with him lately just because he used to be an orc that would they called them the Bash Brothers. Back before the Warg split, they only had silverback apes. So there was, I don't know how many of us, we only had silverback apes, and we would act like we were like college fraternity brothers. And so we would flex and we would like, hey, look at my muscles, and it was hilarious. So I still try to keep that alive with that character.
You like shotgunning grog or what?
Oh yeah, it says, pours grog overhead and yells and so on.
All right. Well, Meg, I got one final question for you here, man, and I ask all the guests this, so it's your turn to answer it. If Owen and Luthien gave you the ability to change anything about the game, automatically, no questions asked, it's done at the snap of a finger. What are you changing about Outlands, if anything?
All right. So I love this question. Um I would one more personal type would be able to add NPC orcs to our fort and surrounding areas,
Okay.
to give it a more orcish feel.
Okay.
We've actually been talking about that, but the big one for the overall game would be anything is tameable. So my biggest ones would be ogres and ettins and trolls. I
Mm.
want to be able to control those because this goes back to the movies. Like they even had ogres and I don't think they had an Etten, but they had ogres and trolls that the orcs would command. Like they were the polgas of the orcs.
Yeah,
And
because
so I think that would be kind of cool.
in Lord of the Rings, don't they like open the big gates and shit? Right? Aren't they the ones that are like
Yeah.
they like crack a whip and they like pull the levers and shit?
Yeah, so they open the doors of Mordor, and then they move all the big like their heavy equipment that the orcs would drag with them to the battles. And then they would send them to go like absorb. They were the tank pet, so they would send them to the wall, and so that everybody, if you let them hit the wall, they're done. So they all fight the tank pet while the other orcs do sneaky stuff like running a bomb underneath the building or the wall and blowing it up.
Yeah, dude, that's a great idea because the one they'd make awesome tank pets. Imagine seeing them out there, and I think what they could do is, you know, um, I mean, they don't even have to be great. We just want them, right? They don't
No,
have to be great. We just fucking want the option to have them.
They can be, like they are now. They have two attacks. They have just the regular swipe attack and then like a ground pound attack where it moves the character back like 2 tiles. That is it. That like we don't want them OP. We don't care about that. We're trying to create a scene. That's it.
Yeah, no, okay, that's a great one. Okay, so the ability to spawn NPC orcs, and you want to be able to tame trolls and ogres.
Yeah, trolls, ogres, ettins, any of those big lumbering type, or even spawn an orc brute. Because back on OSI, there was an orc. Well, original OSI, there were just regular NPC orcs that were green, I think. But when the OSI updated their graphics, they now were spawned and they were actually quite tall on the screen.
Mm.
So even spawning a couple of the orc brutes, they look like those what are those in the fire dungeon? Inferno. There's those guys that go hoo da da and they drop the rocks. They were like
Oh, you're
that
talking about the
size.
orcs with those helmets, those golden helmets.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay, I'm
Even
gonna
if
put the image
but
up here because dude, those are my favorite. Those are my favorite. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I remember. I know what you're talking
yeah,
about.
yeah, and add on to that, the orcs and NPCs like out or OSI, they had the orc dungeons even, and we did it on Second Age where we lived in a cave or like a dungeon where you drop down. It was like a dungeon where you enter it and you drop down, and it was like an orc fort inside of the dungeon, and there was jail cells and there was a bunch of NPC orcs, and they had the orc brutes, orc archers. They had all the different types of orcs, and I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, kind of like Urkton does, right? I mean, they have those mobs in there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Irkton, and I kind of want that for like our fort. So
I see.
add more flair to our fort. Put more T maps. Add a bunch of T maps to our location. I don't like make it so humans come to us. We can try to give out another gold link and see how that works. Neural.
Yeah, I would
Were
love,
you
yeah,
around for
like
that?
a Urkton, but like under our fort. That'd be sick.
Yeah. Well, were you around for the when we tried to get this was I think COVID times when we tried to get humans to come to the fort and we said we have a gold link in our chests?
No, I was not around for that, but I think I heard about it. Yeah, we're like just snuck it
Yeah.
around somewhere.
Yeah, they came in behind our fort, or they stealth in. We found them, but they took the link and they were able to get on their boat from behind the fort through like two walls and stuff. And so it lasted about 5 minutes, and we thought it was going to last all night. It was quite funny.
Those sneaky umis, man. Sneaky umis.
Yeah.
All right, Omeg. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for agreeing to do this, man. Thanks for being an elder and to 25 more years, bud.
Oh, dude, I'm here. I'm trying to get my kids to play Outlands again. They used to play, but trying to get them to play again.
Yeah, yeah. We'll hope to see you around. And if you see Omeg out there, make sure you give him his tribute.
Please do. I don't want to.
All right, Omeg. Good, man.
See ya.